Well, Jennifer, thank you so much. Really appreciate your allowing InSpirit Institute to come down to do on-site training.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you all coming and sharing with our Workplace Connection team a little bit about some things that they can do to help with their career development.
Right.
I think a lot of people found it beneficial, and I think really being able to tap into what their purpose is for themselves in their lives and also at work.
Yeah, well, speaking of at work, so we're here with Jennifer Montague, who is the President and COO of Columbia Gas of Virginia, a NiSource company,
Yeah.
which services in the state of Virginia 290,000.
That's right.
As well as NiSource 4 million.
That's right.
That's pretty significant.
That's right. Yes. So we are across 6 states.
Okay.
And our Columbia companies, it's Columbia Gas of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland. I have Virginia, Kentucky, and then in Indiana, we are NIPSCO, which is Gas and Electric.
Yes, and you are a trailblazer in what you're doing, and so we want to hear a little bit about that. You mentioned during the training, we were talking about one of the key words was purpose. And so we're going to get to that, but the path to purpose for you in terms of your leadership and your role as president and COO, very interested in that. And so I do know that, Stanford undergrad, University of Chicago master's, as well as executive, lived and led in the UK, so globally with previous organizations,
Right.
and now you're here.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'll say I've been in energy my entire career. And from a purpose standpoint, I don't think when I was a child, it wasn't my desire to go into energy. I didn't automatically know that. And I'll tell you how I fell into it, really.
Okay.
I was a National Merit Scholar. Scholarship to go to Stanford was by Amoco.
Okay.
And back then, when they gave you your scholarship, they did sort of the big check presentations, and
Yes.
they took you and your family out to eat. And so at that meal ceremony, my mom shoved the man, and she was like, "You all have any summer jobs?" And I was like, "Mom, shush." And she was like, "No, you shush. You need a summer job."
Right.
So between her and then there was a woman at her church. Her name was Brenda, and she worked for Amoco in the customer service department. So she also asked her VP. So between she took in the little. At church, you have a little printout which describes what you do. So she took that, and then between her and my mother, so I started interning there. Very first summer, I just filed paperwork, but I interned there for 4 summers, and then when I graduated, I went into sales for Amoco, and I did that. Then they paid for me to go to business school, the MBA from University of Chicago. I went into the mergers and acquisitions group at Amoco. Then I went into marketing, and then from marketing, I went into the supply chain organization. So I spent spending time at the refineries, going to the refineries, going to Texas City, and going down to Houston, Toledo, all over the place. And then I ran the credit card group for a while. And then my husband said, "You work at a big multinational oil company, find us an assignment overseas." Okay, so worked. Got an assignment overseas in communications, so we went to London for 4 years, and that was a blessing. Then came back, and I was in communications, internal communications at first, and then external communications on the alternative energy biofuel side. Was repatriated from the U.S., and then from there, I ended up leaving Amoco and joined ComEd, which is the local utility in Chicago.
Yes.
And I was there for 8 years. So my first job, I was director of marketing. Then I went to become director of revenue management, so collecting all of the money, managing the low-income assistance programs. And then my last role there, I was director of strategy and technology, so running all of the digital channels for customers and customer experience and all of the customer strategy. And then I left there and joined NiSource. So I joined NiSource in 2018. My first job here at this company, I was vice president of communications and external affairs for NIPSCO in Indiana.
Okay.
And then I became chief customer officer, so had all the customer channels, the call center, billing, revenue recovery, e-channels, new business. So had basically everything related to customer. When my son was getting graduated, they tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, William's going to graduate. We have a job for you." And so I've been in this role now for 3 years. So it's really been a blessing in terms of a progression, but it is not at all what I would have planned or what I was thinking about when I was 18 years old and thinking I wanted to have a job, right? I didn't think that I would be in energy my whole career, and just having a variety of roles that I've really loved and been able to develop. So that's a little bit about my career path.
Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing that as far as your ascension and your rise to your role. You know, sometimes in life, many times in life, it's not what we planned, but what we consistently do is we take our purpose. And so you talk about all of the different experiences that you've had as you've elevated. And the one constant I would imagine is a purpose, and bringing your purpose in. Share with us a little bit about what that purpose is for Jennifer Montague.
So this is really tough for me because I will say, I think one of the purposes I have is being able to make connections with people at all different levels. And so I have, because of the variety of roles that I've had, I've been able to make deep connections and understand the customer needs of people ranging from governors all the way down to unhoused or, low income, customers who are struggling to pay their bills. So being able to find that connection and find what they need and find solutions for them, and being able to